I realized that I was stuck in the same video format and wanted to do the same video format even though it wasn't working. And I felt like I was locking myself in my own box. As long as I just have my own moral compass and my own criteria for what videos I want to make, then I can be free of that box and not just have to make the talking videos like I normally do. But right now, as you've probably seen on Instagram and LinkedIn, if you're following our Instagram pages, it's merely just us just posting graphics about random shit. But what I really want to try and do is like build a marketing and content creation strategy to actually get people to care about what we're posting, as opposed to just see it and be like, unless they're my friend, they just don't give a shit. Market to our target audience through where their attention is. So their attention isn't really in class, they don't care. Their attention isn't on campus, they don't care. Their attention's on their phone, on their laptop. So now it's about, how do I provide enough value to them so that they'd want to not only watch the video, but then be so intrigued and curious about what our site is like so that they use it. So that's what I'm gonna try and figure out right now. And by the way, I've been listening to focus music. You literally just go on Spotify and type in focus music and it just keeps playing stuff. Game changer. I get locked in with this shit. So for those of you with problems, this is literally what I do. I go problem and then I literally start writing out solutions. So I'm gonna update you in a second, but that's literally how I do this shit. It's literally a Google Doc, there's nothing special about it. How do we get a ton of people on Archi using social media? We want to be everywhere. Well, how many is a ton of people? Forums are crazy. Random side note, I feel like I go through cycles with content every time. So every time it's the cycle of, I want to get really good at this thing, so I start putting a ton of energy into it, and then I get to some videos where I'm just basically telling people what they should do, and it just feels weird, and so then I slowly stop it and slowly fall back into the journey. And then I'm like, okay, why don't I just document what I'm doing and try and make that as good as possible? So it's the same cycle that happened last time, and it's happening again before my eyes. And so I think now when I create content, it's going to try and come from a place where it's just the lessons I've learned. And I probably had this same exact talk, but then I always have gone back into that old habit. So I just need to break that habit this next time. Interesting. When I do these types of exercises, I get down to something that's very basic and sounds so simple. And when you finally get to it, you're like, oh, that's obvious. I should have just known that from the start. But unless you go through the 30 minutes of an hour to try and get there, you don't get there, and then you're still lost. So what I boiled it down to is, Archi is all about learning. So why don't we just post helpful content everywhere that helps people learn? Duh. But a really helpful exercise, just like, you have a lot of worries and doubts in your head, but it's really helpful for me to put it all on paper, like exactly what I want. So a lot of times when I'm worrying or doubting something, I'm thinking about the future in a negative way and focusing on what I don't want and going down these negative futures of what could happen or what might happen. But a good reframe for me is just focus on what I do want. So kind of design the life, design the creator I'm going to be, design the business I'm going to build, as opposed to worrying about what a future could like, because there's no point. It's not productive at all. It doesn't help. It just causes stress, anxiety, and other emotions. But when you really put it down on paper like this, of, okay, this is what I do want, and now I'm going to keep reading this every day, to keep striving towards this person and towards becoming this creator, I think you just end up becoming that creator, which is the crazy thing about life. But I guess the ultimate test would be to see where this channel ends up. So yeah, let's get after it. Yeah, like I talked about earlier, it's the big thing for me is the cycles that I go through where, I want to build an audience, and so then I start to talk about things I don't really. It starts to become more of like I'm talking about something I don't really want to talk about. It's just what I think will get views, and then I think that process, as bad as it is, even making it worse is that I think that process puts you further from it. I think it's the same thing with women, it's the same thing with money. You don't chase, you attract it. So by remaining authentic, by keeping my integrity, by, only teaching what I know, that will then attract the people that resonate with that. And then I'll have the best audience that I could possibly ask for. But it's just finding videos that fit that criteria. And so I just have to focus on finding those videos, as opposed to having the scarcity mindset of, I need to post content, I need to have this out. If you don't have it out on the exact date, like, is it really a big deal? You can just post it tomorrow. I need to kind of shift that mindset that, I had when I was extremely disciplined. Like, this has to be at this time, you have to do this on this day, and have this strict regimen of schedule. I think creating content, building a business, yes, you have to do the things, yes, you have to be consistent in order to build, and you have to build momentum and study. All those are true, but I think it's more of, I need to tap more into that, emotional side, that more of the art of it, as opposed to just making it a science, and still keep parts of the science that are good, but create a balance that is perfect. I think is really what I'm striving for here.